budgeting is terrible. I'm not on that huge train that everybody gets on of like, we need more money for teachers. The only reason I think we need more money for teachers is because I've seen the budget. I see where money gets wasted. I see that there are a lot of, I'm trying very hard to watch my words.
I did want to do a quick introduction of our guests. As the invite was saying, we're trying to have a conversation about education and just together. There's a lot of different ideas with it. There's a lot of different things that's going on. We have a lot of different ideologies around that. And so essentially, we want to start to have that conversation, what that looks like from a libertarian perspective, and also like how that plays out practically, and kind of where things are at in the state of Tennessee. And so we have Sam here and Kenna. So Sam's with Americans for Prosperity, and Kenna is with us. And also, which school?
Antioch
High School. And so yeah, you guys can take it away.
You say it correctly too.
I know. Hi guys. Alright, so we actually did this a week ago, kind of. I spoke 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I spoke at an AFP event about education. If you guys hear me down there, I know the music is so dang loud.
We'll try to speak up.
We can hear you in the cheap seats.
Good.
And the things that Sam asked me to talk about, whatever we talked, were like things that are going well in education, things that are not going well in education. But the focus on what AFP is doing is about education savings accounts. So my vote, you guys tell me what you think. My vote is to tell you about how I think our budgets are terrible. Sam's going to talk about education savings accounts, and then we can just do Q&A. Thoughts? Great. Okay. So to go into this, the reason I support, especially at a very, very, very liberal school, I support education savings accounts majorly is because I have a lot of students that are not being benefited from being in school, and we are struggling to find them options. I have a girl right now that she had a baby her freshman year. I've been with her for now 2.5 years. She's a junior. She has an almost 2-year-old. She is taking care of 3 younger siblings. She lost her mother recently, and she just can't come to school very often. So because of that, last semester she failed all her classes, which puts her behind graduation. And there's no options for her. She'll come to school late, and then she'll get fussed at because she's late. She gets suspended, and so we've had to get all these special exemptions made just for this one girl so she can just come to school. She doesn't want to get her GED because she wants to actually learn, and she wants to be a nurse. So she's trying really, really, really hard to make it as she just turned 17 this week, a 17-year-old mom taking care of siblings, the whole family essentially, and she just doesn't have options, and she needs options. And especially in a very liberal school, you'll hear a lot of people go no, you can't take the money out of our schools, but I really think if you talk to a lot of the teachers that are connected, they would totally agree that it's a struggle, such a struggle to have these kids in our classroom that need to be in different atmospheres, that need to have those capabilities and those options. So I'm all for more options, which is why I support education savings accounts.
Yeah, great. As Matt said, my name is Sam Neinow. For those of you who don't know me, I know a few of y'all here. I'm the grassroots director with Americans for Prosperity here in Tennessee. We have a tour spirit meeting. Kenna came and did a great job. But with Ed, so does everyone know what an education savings account is? Okay, well, for those who don't, it's so a lot of people think it's similar to a voucher, which it's similar, but it's not the same 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. So what a voucher will do is allow you to take funds from a public school, and then you can transfer that over to a private school. An education savings account is much more flexible. It's similar to like an HSA, just for education. You can use it for transportation, like public transportation, for tutoring, online classes, homeschooling, private school. There's a lot more options. I went to school down to Chattanooga for college, and one of my economics professors would always say it's impossible to be made worse off with more options. So you can always go back to the original if you don't like what's being offered to you. So that's one of the things with education savings accounts. For those of you who don't know, Tennessee is actually one of 6 states in the union right now with some sort of education savings account program. We have that for kids with disabilities and special needs, just to help them out in case they need a little bit of extra assistance and getting the education that's best for them. Other states are Arizona, Nevada, Florida, Mississippi, North Carolina. Florida especially, they have made great strides in their education. They were around with Tennessee, and what was spent per pupil was pretty similar. But since they've enacted some education savings accounts, they've really expanded, and they've jumped up to the height, top tier in the country for the education for their students. There's a couple of issues that some people have with education savings accounts. They think it will have the state be telling folks, families, homeschool families, or private schools how they need to educate, and it's going to be state mandated, and they're going to be intrusive. That's not really the case. There was 2 cases in Arizona and in Nevada, both. There were lawsuits brought because money was going to private Christian schools, and these groups are saying, hey, this is public funds going to Christian schools, separation of church and state, you can't do this. And both states' courts ruled, hey, this is actually, we're giving money to the family, and the family's doing whatever they want with it. We're not giving it to these institutions. So if something like that happened in Tennessee, if we were able to pass a comprehensive ESA proposal, I don't think we'd have a problem just based off those 2 precedents. Right now we have, as y'all, if you've seen the state of the state, this is a big thing with Governor Lee. He's trying to get something pushed. There's a bill right now. It's a House Bill 939 and Senate Bill 795 that's trying to deal with this. There's a lot of amendments and different things being added to it, so the bill's kind of changing. But that's something for Tennessee. They're trying to expand it a little bit to keep an eye on right now. So yeah, for me personally, this is my Americans for Prosperity. We're a grassroots organization. We fight for freedom to tear down barriers at any level. We're working with criminal justice reform, health care with certificate of needs, government transparency. A lot of issues fit under our umbrella, and with freedom, there's a lot of areas where we need freedom in our everyday life. But for me, education savings account's a big deal because I was actually homeschooled till 8th grade, and I went to a private Christian school myself. But my brother, he was diagnosed with leukemia in December of 2002. And because I was homeschooled, my dad had a good enough job, and my mom was able to take advantage of that. I was able to be with them throughout all that time. In 2003, he spent close to 300 days in either Vanderbilt or around McDonald House. I know for me personally, that wouldn't have been great just being in a public school setting. It could have been a fantastic public school, but I wouldn't want to be with my family. So there's misconceptions just ESAs is automatically saying public schools are doing a bad job. That's not the case. It could just not be a good fit for someone. There could be bullying happening, sickness in the family. It's just not the education style. This isn't meeting their needs. Again, you can't be made worse off with more choices. So that's kind of where we're at with that. And with that, we'll open up for questions. Then I don't know. I can get that back to you though.
I assume you're going to have any major impact in the GOP's and social media.
It depends kind of what the final outcome is, I think. There's still a lot of talk behind the scenes. Again, Governor Lee's supportive of it. But we'll see. Yeah.
What do you know the next subcommittee or committee is going to go?
It's going to be an education tomorrow at 1:30, I believe. So yeah, it'll be. I believe it's 1:30, but it's going to be an education full. It did pass the subcommittee last week, so that's tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Have you talked to Bill Hunt about this?
I have not personally, but I know Tori Venable, our state director, she's talked with them about it.
I talked to him about it briefly when I was there 2 or 3 weeks ago. Did he let you install on the fence? And he's like,
I'm sorry?
I said, I talked to him about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he let me leave you install on the fence, so I'm not sure if you guys have been able to sway him or not.
Yeah, just, again, there's so much with that bill right now. That's, let's kind of see what happens.
So, like, what are the components of that bill beyond just, like, the scaled back, tiny, like, small summary? Like, is it a long bill that has a lot of things in it that's a little bit more complicated?
Right now, some of the key points to that is it's for priority. It's a school district that has at least 3 priority schools. So that's basically all the metro areas. It would include a Davidson County, Hamilton County, Shelby, Knox, and Madison. It's like the Jackson area. And so it would be for those schools. Kids would be able to get. There's some different initiatives on who would get priority. It'd be capped at 5,000 for the first year. Students who could participate. If it didn't reach that 5,000 mark, it would still stay there until they reach the 5,000. Then it would go an additional 2,500. Additional 2,500. And then each student would be able to get about $7,300 from that to use for education. And the governor has said that those schools that would lose students, the state would be giving them that $7,300 back, at least for the first 3 years. You got to have accountability, so the students that would leave would have to still take some tests in math and English. This would be accountable, so they know that this money's being spent properly. But those are kind of the highlights. Again, that's just the latest I heard, but I know there's been some amendments that have been talked about and things being discussed. So,
I'm guessing this could be a really boon for alternative schools like the National Assembly School, for instance, which they're only charging $6,000 or $7,000 a year right now, and that would be allow a whole lot more people to make that choice if they wanted to.
there's been a misconception. This isn't about, but just in general, there's been a misconception that if a private school only got like half of what the tuition would be or less than that, it really wouldn't do a whole lot of good. Private school people that I've talked to has said even if it was something like $3,400 or something, that would be a huge boon, because a lot of those schools already go out and raise their own money, get private donations, and so that would open up $3,400 for them to give it a scholarship to someone else to join. So even if it doesn't cover their entire tuition, just even a little bit would be a great help. Yeah.
Does the bill have a fiscal note?
I think so. I don't know, so I don't want to comment on that. I don't want to give false information.
We're just being accounting.
So I mean, for like, how do you see this affecting like a lot of folks? I think also from the left probably are pretty much thinking like, well, this is not going to help low-income students. Really, like in general, it's a way to allow middle or higher class folks to be able to save money. Essentially, is one of the arguments. Like, what is your response to that, and what are your thoughts, like particularly for like urban areas that have struggles with public school quality?
Well, I know in Arizona, when in the Heritage Foundation, they actually did a study on this. They did a report. They came back out in September of 17, or the last couple of years, they just did this report. So if you all are interested in this issue, that's a fantastic read. But they did talk about how Arizona, after they implemented it, it had an extremely high approval rating among folks. It just there was no like negative. It was either like neutral or good or very good of what people thought about it. And Arizona, they're one of the more comprehensive states. It's almost completely statewide. You have to have some regulations on when you're going into school, what grade you're going in. But they're pretty comprehensive. I know some other states are more, they're kind of like Tennessee on its disabilities or some other restrictions. Florida, with their ESAs, they got a lot of people supporting it too. So I'd say if you look at these other programs, these states are doing, you could say it's just going to help like the middle class and the wealthy, but the evidence is to the contrary.
Does the bill prioritize low-income students?
It does. It does. There you go.
That would be it. You prioritize low-income students, and it's not going to be just for middle and upper class.
What are your thoughts? I don't need to keep asking questions, but I have a lot of questions. So.
I will happily take general just education.
Yeah, that's
me too. We can take general
we'll take
education.
general education
so.
questions.
As a public
Go for it.
school teacher, what are your thoughts on the public charter system and like as an option, particularly and just in general, particularly in Tennessee specifically?
Okay, I think charter schools are a okay option. I think we're getting there with charter schools. The problem I personally see with charter schools is they get to allow who they want in. So obviously they're going to pick students that excel in certain areas because charter schools focus on, you'll have a charter school that focuses on science, math, things like that, right? But if that student is not performing well, they will wait. After a while, let's say come testing season, when we know that's when it all matters to the schools is how well your kids do in testing season, they'll kick kids out. Around spring break, we get more of an influx in the public schools of children that have been kicked out of charter schools because their test scores wouldn't be good or they wouldn't make the school look good. Now, my problem with this is that the school has already received money for that student. So in Metro, it's about $13,000 per student that school has received. And so they're going to educate that student for 3/4 of the year or half of the year and receive that money. Then they're going to dump it on the public school, and the public school doesn't get any of that money. That's where
But they get the testing results.
But they get the testing results, which doesn't really matter in my school. If you know anything about my school at all, really, really, really diverse school. We speak 33 different languages. Most of my kids are either very, very, very low in general or low in an English language learner realm. So having those handful of kids that are like mediocre, but just not up to like charter school standards, aren't really going to boost our score, so it doesn't really matter. So we kind of get the crap into the deal out of all of this. That's where charter schools, I kind of have a problem with them, is their funding and the way it all works. Within the public school system, that works too. Like I have a kid that moved to a different school. Like I get that. Moved it back and forth. Kids move back and forth often. It's just, I guess, the nature of why they get rid of them in charter schools and send them back to public schools, but then they keep the money. Also, starting up a charter school is really easy, to be really honest with you. We joke about it all the time. I mean, it's half joking. We all half go, well, why don't we have charter schools for odd learners, the kids that need like a little extra help, not your more rigorous. Because charter schools are very all of them that have existed right now in Metro Nashville are very, I'm trying to use my words wisely. I don't want to say it, but they're kind of creepy out of The Shining. The kids are all in uniform and they sit still and they stare and they copy notes and they regurgitate answers. Like they're not as holistically involved, I guess, as far as learning goes. There aren't many of them at least. So we joke about starting charter schools that are more, inclusive. Because it's easy. It's easy to start a charter school.
And so
anybody can do it. And you get money.
Are most of them have the same kind of, you said they have different maybe focal areas, but are they all serving the same type of kids or
Yeah, actually most of the charter schools pop up in really low income areas.
Okay.
We have about 3 different charter schools in Antioch that my kids would go to that are close. And they're not huge. There's one of the most popular ones has 150 kids in it versus our 2,200 children. So they're small. But there's 3 different options of charter schools. Madison is a huge area to have charter schools too. North Nashville has some, but yeah. That's my charter school opinion.
Okay, I got a question.
Go.
What do you think the impact is of the way that our school systems are designed, and specifically with that, the way that we use reductionism in education versus, like you mentioned earlier, a more holistic approach? What impact do you think that has, either negatively or positively, on the education that we're giving our children, and how do you think we can, or do we need to address that impact, and if so, how?
Heavy question. Yeah, I think it's.
You can pass it on to him if you like.
I mean, no, I'll say it. He's just asking the way in which we reduce education to a simple terms of, these are the courses you have to do, this is the grades you have to pass, tell me if I'm saying something wrong, this is the information you have to regurgitate. It's not a very holistic approach. It's a really like narrow, this is the one size fits all. Is that what you mean by reductionism?
Also, like, you learn, say, history over here, you learn math over here, you learn science over here.
All separated, compartmentalized, right?
Yes.
Again, another thing we joke about a lot, I have an English teacher friend, and we talk about how English and history just go so well together. And the kids don't care about those two sometimes. They'll sit in English class and they're like, this is so boring. But if we could like put them together with another topic they're interested in, then, or with history, if we put it all together into having like college courses. Right, having it all together, having a college course of this is just the study that you're going to take, and we're going to study it in multiple rounds. Buffalo flatbreads right here. Sorry, live stream. You're good. You got it for her. Thank you. I think it's definitely negatively impacting our kids. I have kids that come in and they can't keep all our classes straight. So they come in. I had a kid last year ask me halfway through the year something about English class. I was like, this is not English class. He's like, we write a lot. Yeah, it's history. You've got to write a lot to like process history. And he just couldn't like fathom that. He was like, but it's English. It's not English. It's history. Because he's used to just regurgitating information, because that's more of what elementary and middle school teachers have given that kid. So no, we definitely need a more holistic approach to our education system, giving kids like everything into one, and also finding what they are interested in and focusing on that. We do that, but we only do it like 2 days a year. We have like project-based learning. We did a zombie apocalypse project-based learning, and the kids loved it because we focus on like, what would you do if like there was a zombie, like the world ended, like how would you survive? How would you do this? They love that stuff. But that's not our normal teaching. That's our like fun day teaching. And
yeah, I think it's
not helpful.
It's kind of funny that you said you do project-based learning, because when I was taking education classes, they had us read the project method by Kirkpatrick, which is like from the 20s, I think. Right. And it's like, so I guess that's like the thing again now.
It is. The idea is that you create a project to learn from rather than compartmentalizing your classes. So you like do a project like we did it on the end of the world. I keep putting in quotation zombie because I'm not talking like movie zombie. You know what I mean? We're talking like a virus or I don't know, something like that, drugs or something that spreads and creates something that ends the world. How are we going to protect ourselves? We did geography, history, like we did it all together into one project. It's a lot of fun, really learning. So yeah, project-based learning, we do that, but that's not our sole method of learning. As a homeschooler, I wonder if you did more of that.
No, we did a homeschool. There we go. Yes. Did y'all see that report from the Tennessean about a month and a half ago on the remediation rates here in Tennessee?
No.
So, according to this report, about half of the college freshmen that are public universities from public school, half of the freshmen needed help in math. They needed remediation in some math, and about a third of them needed remediation in reading. These are those that went to college. It's not even including those that didn't go to college. So, like your question, and Kenna was kind of mentioning, something's got to be done differently. Because if you always do what you always did, you're always going to get what you always got.
So what are your guys' thoughts on like the kind of the public school system now, like what's working, what's not, and you can take that right however you want.
I'll let Kenna kind of talk to that. I was never in the public school system.
That's your education.
So,
You've learned about it though.
Yeah, I have learned about it.
Yeah, follow up. Go.
Curricular standards? We're talking about who establishes the curriculum. Is that mostly done at the federal level? Is that halfway done at the state level? Where's that disseminated from?
Okay, well, we'll start with Joshua's first because those are slightly different. Curriculum is one of the giant misconceptions about this. And it depends on the grade you teach, and it depends on the school you teach, it depends on the district. It depends on all of these things, right? And even down to the subject. In my school, I teach world history to 9th graders. I can teach nearly whatever I want. Like, whatever I want. There is not a soul that is telling me what to teach. I have a textbook, it's crap, I rarely use it. I kind of use the textbook on to create some PowerPoints because I gotta the district provides a textbook. It's 12 years old. It's crap. But I use it to kind of bring the ideas down to their level. Because sometimes, when we think of especially history and world ideas, we think way up here. And we got to start thinking of 14-year-olds. And not just any 14-year-olds. 14-year-olds at Title I school, really low income, don't have parents at home 14-year-olds. You know what I mean? So we bring it way down. So I use the textbook for that. Other than that, I teach whatever I want. I really do. And I teach it however I want. And I mean, nobody's there telling me otherwise. We have standards that I view as a guideline of what to follow. It's not really you have to hit all these points. But world history is also not state tested. It's not anything. It's just, I just teach it. It's fun. And so world history is great. Now, the English department right now, the district and the school are coming down on them and giving them specific booklets of things to teach, okay? So that's a whole different world. And I think elementary and middle school have a little bit more structure too on what to teach. But it really comes down to the school, the district, and even maybe the teacher itself as to what you teach. Even when I did teach a class that was state tested, I don't give two craps about the state test. I'm gonna teach whatever I want because that's what the kids care about. The state test, what is that? That doesn't mean anything to me. I don't really care. So I still taught the stuff I wanted to teach the way I wanted to teach it. So, and I know a lot of teachers that teach that way, but I also know teachers that freak out and they teach to the test per se. So curriculum is kind of I have a scope and sequence I can follow if I want to that's done by the district. No, done by the state. I don't follow. I do what I want. I mean, I kind of use it as a guideline, but I do what I want. So that answers that question. And then, Matt, what's going well, what's not going well? Hold on, let me look at my notes I made for Sam 2 weeks ago. Okay. I actually had to ask my teacher friends for the what's going well part. Because I was what is going well? They're well, compared to other states, we have schools that are in pretty decent shape. We have supplies, we have money, our schools are open every day, all day. Our kids aren't having to do half days or anything like that, which a lot of other states have to do right now. We have air conditioning, we have supplies. I got brand spanking new desks, and they are awesome. My kids have good stuff. My classroom's great. I got a brand new wing in my class in my school. My classroom's in the new wing. We have built-in speakers and really nice projectors. It's not bad. My daughter's school, which is in a different district, they're building a brand new high school for them. It's going to be nice too. I mean, we're doing okay in that sense. I think that's good. A big misconception I think also we have is trade programs. Everybody argues all day long. I see it on Facebook all the time. We're not teaching our kids valuable work skills, right? We're pushing college. Yeah, we're pushing college to an extent, but I have kids that are going to take automotive classes every year. And when they get out of high school, they're going to have that like foundation of how to work on a car because they've done it for 3 years in high school. They're doing robotics. They're doing cyber security as a class that you can take in high school right now. Like, I mean, there's tons of cool stuff. Graphic design. I mean, you can get out of high school and have I don't do medical, but there is a certification high schoolers can take in the medical realm where they can go and work in like in an office of some kind while they're in school whenever they go in the future. And I think that's great. I think that's not appreciated enough in our schools or noticed enough. We don't push college as much as the internet wants you to think. I'm gonna be really honest with you. We don't. We push trades a lot, or that like STEP, those classes that help you get to whatever you want to do. So that's another thing I do think is going well. And then restorative practice is another thing that's going well. And that's just in my district. I can speak for it in Metro Nashville. We use a lot of like trying to talk to the kids. So I was talking about my student in the very beginning who has a baby and is taking care of siblings. Her mother just died in December, like things like this. So instead of coming down harsh on her, I look at the student regular and I said, you've got to go to your principal and tell her what's going on. She will definitely help you. You know, they didn't want to give her, you have to get a paper now to get your driver's license in Tennessee saying like you've been to school, you're not failing too many classes and stuff. They wouldn't give her that at first until I called and I said, look, this is what's happened in this girl's life. And they're like, oh, okay. Talked to my principal. She said, yep, I got it. I'm giving it to her now. Like we're helping kids. We're really paying attention to the case-by-case issue, not just, saying, well, one size fits all, or this is the punishment for everyone. You all have to abide by it. So I think that's good to work getting there. There was a whole restorative justice thing that went through legislation last year, even going down to truancy. You can't just arrest parents for truancy after 5 days, which is what you technically could do on the old law. So that's changed. You can't do that anymore. There are certain things you have to go through, and I think that's great that we're actually giving more power to districts and parents to work through those situations. So that's what I think is going well. The things I think are not going well, we've already talked about. Budgeting is terrible. I'm not on that huge train that everybody gets on of we need more money for teachers. The only reason I think we need more money for teachers is because I've seen the budget. I see where money gets wasted. I see that there are a lot of, I'm trying very hard to watch my words. There are a lot of people above me that make a lot of money, triple my pay almost. And those people just walk around and file paperwork. I get that they have responsibility and I understand that, but I just want to be you literally make triple what I do and all your job is to support me. Why do you make so much? And it's crazy. Metro literally went as far as the news published all the people making money, making salaries over $75,000. They post names of every single person in Metro Nashville School District making over $75,000 a year because it's that big of crap that there's all these people making. There's a woman that does nothing but coach teachers on how to teach literacy. That's all she does. I went to school for this. I went to school to teach you how to read things. Why are you paying somebody else $80,000 to tell me how to do that? It just doesn't make any sense. So I see the budget and it's crap. Wipe some of these jobs out and give me some of that money. Just a little bit. I'm not asking for a lot. Just give us a little bit and we're good. I'm not asking to raise taxes or anything. We don't need to raise taxes to pay teachers more. We need to relook at the budget. That's the moral of that story right there. It drives me crazy when people talk about needing to raise taxes to pay teachers. You don't. You just need to figure your stuff out in your community. It's crap. That's my biggest problem with budgeting. And then as we talked about, the system is not evolving and changing to the students' needs. So it's sticking with that, you went to math class, English class, history, and science today, all individually. You have to be there every day, 5 days a week for 7 hours a day, and if you miss, then you have to do this. We're not meeting our kids' needs at all in the way they learn. Oh, it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy seeing other people teach the way they don't learn. Children don't learn this way. Let's fix this. But
so real quickly,
I'm gonna be done ranting. I'm sorry.
I mean, one of those things that I think I think this is one of those subjects that everyone has some kind of interaction and experience with in some kind of facet. Does anyone want to talk a little bit about their particular thoughts or experiences or things that maybe helpful for us to help process some of this stuff, because I know we have people that were homeschooled, people that went to public school, people that went to private school. There's a huge diversity here, and any particular thoughts? Because I'm sure most of you have probably thought a lot of this stuff is not new, and so yeah, if you're willing to share, I'd love to hear.
Hey man, I was homeschooled, so I think the positivity behind ESAs is awesome because it really does empower homeschoolers to cut down a lot of their costs and then get a chunk of the pie out of the revenue that they're missing out of. It was as expensive for us to homeschool per kid as it would have been to send us to a high-end private school. So, yeah, it does. It's not free. If you're doing education, it's not free. So, I think that's pretty exciting. Speaking about the state of public schools, though, I couldn't do very much. My wife might be able to, though. What was your public school experience?
Oh Lord, have mercy. It was not a good experience. No, my teachers were less than exciting, and I did not enjoy I think high school was the worst, time of my life. It was awful. It was awful. I remember my history teacher, I've told you this before, Kenna, my history teacher actually sat in front of the classroom with an overhead projector, and if anybody's not old enough to know what that is, look it up. But they sat in front of me with an overhead projector and just wrote on, the clear films with the print on them. I don't even know what they're called anymore.
Transparencies.
Transparencies, thank you so much. They would actually write on those, just fill in the blanks, and then have the lecture. I didn't learn anything in history, and it's really sad too because I talk to Josh about it all the time, how his history education is so much better than mine, because his mother, when she was homeschooling, she took actually the time to do that. I was just bored out of my mind because they only teach the way that one person learns. They don't teach the way that everybody learns, and that's an issue, I think. So yeah, I did not enjoy my public school. I definitely agree with Josh. I think homeschooling is the way to go if you have time to do it. Obviously, not everybody has time to homeschool, unfortunately, but it's a good option for sure. That's it.
Just us watching that thing up there, It's nice. I like it. That's what I have now. That's what everybody has now. Yeah. Or they come down from the ceiling.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
Is there anything that we need to support you guys tomorrow?
Well, we're still waiting to see what the final bill is because there's still a lot of conversation on that. So I know our position as a state, we'd love to see ESAs statewide as broad as possible. Just again, more choice, more competition, and the tide rate rises all boats. And so we like to see everyone succeed. So we'll see what this bill is tomorrow.
I'm sure you'll send that email.
Yeah, I'd be happy to get everyone's email. We have an email list, let you guys know what's going on. Because we have not just education, as I said earlier, we have a lot of different issues we support, and we got bills that we're fighting for. So if you guys have an email, I'd love to put you on that list.
I just moved here yesterday, so I haven't been saying anything.
Yay!
I'm familiar with Tennessee.
Welcome to Nashville.
Well, I don't actually live in Nashville. We live in a different county, but yeah. But my state, I've already contacted my state rep, and he said, I can come see him anytime. So, Boyd. So I don't know how supportive I don't know anything about his politics yet, but he'll get to know me. So and he already knows him, but we'll do whatever we can to support.
Yeah.
Boys.
We gotta find better meetings.
It's all kind of in flux right now in the air. So this again, that House bill number is 939, and the Senate is 795. So that's a good way to keep up with it. And again, I have business cards. I'll be more than happy to take. Y'all can call me anytime, and I kind of let you know what's going on too.
So you're with Americans.
Americans for Prosperity.
So, do you want to just explain? Because some folks probably don't know who AFP is. So, do you want to?
You kind of said it in the beginning.
Yeah, I can do it again.
Yeah, or like at least like the issues that you guys are working on. You mentioned that there's a slew.
Sure. So Americans for Prosperity organization founded back in 2004. We got a state chapter here briefly. 2011 went away, but that it stayed for good in 2013. So this summer we will be in Tennessee for 6 years. Typically, we're known as the lower taxes, less government group. So that's kind of been our bread and butter issues. But now, last year, we did a kind of revamping of our network. Because we're in 36 states also. And so all of our states kind of did this revamping where it's more about not just less government and less taxes, but more about how can we break down barriers just so people can live the lives that they want to live, that they can be as free as possible across the spectrum. So a lot of what we're doing is voter rights restoration, criminal justice, restricted driver's license, so people they won't lose their driver's license just because they can't pay a fine. If you can't pay a fine, you can't drive to work. How are you supposed to pay your fine off? We have government transparency bills, issues with certificate of need, education. Obviously, this is what we've all been talking about tonight. So we are, which has been great with this revamp of the visions, because we've been able to work on a lot more issues. Our scope of work has been able to be much wider. Last year, just for some of the things we worked on, we Nashville had a mass transit plan that was awful, and we brought it down almost 2-1, voted against it, which was huge considering how much money was put into it and who was supporting it. So that was good. Again, just it was going to hurt the little guy. It was over here. It was going to take It was going to take 15 years to complete if it was on time.
Destroy downtown.
Oh yeah. I think traffic's bad now. Just if that would have passed. So we had that. We called to confirm Brett Kavanaugh. Try to get those calls done. We helped Marsha Blackburn get elected to the Senate. She's been a champion of ours in some of our issues. We typically don't go out and endorse candidates. And we called for, when I first got on, because I got on with AFP in October of 17. So right the next month after that, we're calling to get folks to support the tax break, or I'm trying to think. Trump's tax plan, the tax breaks for everybody. We did fight the gas tax. We fought it off. We were able to hold it back for a lot of years, and then it happened. 2017, it passed. So, but we did do some accountability efforts on that, and some folks remembered. So
I've actually fought the gas tax in Louisiana with you guys, as well as getting the voter rights.
Yeah, we got a good team down in Louisiana.
You have a really good team in Louisiana. I've worked with several of the people there. I mean, some of them have come and gone, but good people.
Yeah.
Very good people.
What part of Louisiana are you from?
I live in New Orleans area right now, but I lived in North Louisiana as well. But it's stronger base in the New Orleans area, and even in Lafayette. Sarah was over there in Lafayette. She's gone, but
I know Sarah.
yeah. She just,
James and Cameron.
yeah, Cameron. He's a good friend of mine. He comes to my stuff. He's a good guy.
Yeah, they're really good folks down there.
Yeah, I like them. Yeah.
So, are you a Saints fan?
I mean, who that? I don't like football. The sports aren't really my thing.
Football is the devil.
It is. It's the devil. I mean, if I'm gonna, live in Louisiana, so yeah.
Okay, I won't hold that against you.
Not a Cowboys fan, that's for sure. So,
Tampa Bay's always taking fans.
that's okay.
Have you all ever done anything with bowel access?
Ballot access, we have not. So,
I'll talk to you afterwards.
it sounds good, yeah. So one thing we typically, and this isn't a social issue, but we typically don't do anything with social issues. There's other organizations that do work on that, but
as individuals,
as individuals, yeah. I mean, we still have our own personal time. We can bring choice voting. Oh, I've heard.
Any more questions? Or? Cool. Thank you guys. I'm going to turn this off. So if you guys have any questions.